Have you ever heard of a car with suicidal tendencies? That's this week on Motoring 2004.
TSN's Motoring 2004 is brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oil. Oils fine-tuned for different engines. And Midas, Total Car Care. We do that.
Driving down the highway singing honeymoon and lovers kiss and drive a Saturn tonight.
This was a scene in Spring Hill, Tennessee. A love-in for the Saturn, that little economy car that generated a cult following nobody could have predicted. But you know, while Saturn was good at holding parties, offering hugs and hot dogs, it was still a one-car company. A couple of years ago, they introduced the View Sport Utility, but sales continued to sag. Well, this week we're in the beautiful Laurentians just north of Montreal, a site that Saturn has selected not to hold a party, but rather to introduce the new and improved Ion and View, and also to tell us that over the next couple of years, they've got a lot of product coming that they believe will help double their Canadian sales.
Well, you know, Saturn in the early 90s came to market in a new way. People didn't want to go to a car dealership and buy a car. It was as painful as having a root canal. And Saturn changed the face of all of that, and changed it for the industry, I might add, because there are a lot of people who have really tried to mimic what Saturn's done. We still lead the industry in how we treat customers. There's no doubt about it. We have a tremendous loyal following.
Their approach was good. The main problem they had is they had the same model for too long. They had this model for 9 years in a row. It did good at first, but the problem is the models around those cars changed a lot, and a lot faster than they did. So they lost clients to other companies because they were not progressing and changing fast enough. So again, they want to grab again part of the people they've lost over the years to other companies, and they're using GM technology in their product to bring that again at low cost and see where they can go with it.
We've existed with one basic car up until we saw View a new year ago, which was our new sport utility, a mini sport utility, so to speak, and it's done extremely well. And now you're seeing the red line that's a little more enthusiastic, appeals to a younger buyer, a more enthusiastic one. And you've also seen red line on Ion. And Ion was a new car for us last year that replaced the old S car that we'd had for better than 10 years in Canada. And we're really proud of the fact that we've got a new coupe, we've also got a new sedan, and now we've got red line in the quad coupe and red line in the View. We've got more horsepower in a V6 engine than anyone else in the industry in that size. They're great vehicles.
It's a performance vehicle. It's touched every part of the vehicle in terms of making it a performance vehicle. It's a 2-liter supercharged engine, extra large brakes, refined suspension, lowered the vehicle, performance tires and wheels. Recaro seats in the vehicle with a short throw shifter. It's just a great vehicle to drive every day, and if you want to, race it on the weekend. It's just fabulous. The View's been a very successful vehicle for us. We've added in 04 a new engine, a V6 3.5 liter, which is class-leading horsepower, 250 horsepower. Great performance, great feel. And we've taken that even another step further with the red line by lowering the vehicle 26 millimeters with a performance suspension, tires and wheels. Put a monotone exterior on the vehicle. It looks great. The way I say it, it not only goes fast, it looks like it goes fast.
They fixed every little thing that was wrong with the Ion in the red line. Good drivability, stiff, powerful. The car for the money will do good. And it's in conjunction with what's popular right now. If you look at Dodge, who did the SRT4, if you look at Toyota, who now has an XRS Corolla on the road, Ford has an SVT in the Focus. So basically they're going in line with those products, and I think there'll be more to come in a couple of years from now.
We've been known as a small car company. We're much more than that today, and we're going to be much more than that in the future.
When it comes to driving in at least one Canadian city, looks can be deceiving. More later on Kenzie's Corner.
You know, the first tangible evidence of what happened when Daimler and Chrysler merged was found in the form of the Crossfire, a niche vehicle that played to a relatively small market. Well, this week on Test Drive, we take a look at a vehicle that is anything but niche, and yes, it is powered by a Hemi. The reason behind the 300's promise is the fact that it's little more than the past generation Mercedes-Benz E-Class dressed up in a funky set of panels. As for choice, well, there's several different models. The 300, which is offered in base, touring and limited editions, all of which are powered by a V6 engine. Then there's the model tested, the 300C, a car that pays homage to the original 1955 leather car. This means a massive body and disproportionately small greenhouse. Remarkably though, this does not put a crimp in the driver's sightlines, and so in spite of its monstrous size, the 300 is very easy to drive and park. You know, when it comes to large cars, sometimes it's difficult for somebody that's shorter in stature to find the right and correct driving position. In the 300C, not a problem. To begin with, a fully articulated seat that's backed up with power tilt and telescopic steering wheel adjustments. The icing on the cake, power adjustable pedals. As a result, anyone of any stature can find the right and correct driving position. Mechanically, the suspension takes another leaf out of the Benz book. The 300 rides on double wishbones up front, a 5-link design in back and a large set of anti-roll bars at both ends. Thankfully, the range-topping C gets the touring suspension, which firms things up a little without sacrificing comfort. Through the pylons, the suspension takes a quick set, which keeps body roll in check. Factor in the large 225/60 R18 tyres, and you have a decidedly decent package. For such a large, heavy car, the 300C is nothing short of remarkable through the pylons, and it boils down to two important things. Firstly, the platform and suspension are very well tied together, and so they work as a team. Secondly, you've got a great electronic stability control program. Now, not only does it keep you on the straight and narrow as you run through the pylons, if you happen to goose the gas midway around a corner, well, it prevents you from doing a 360 and ending up with egg all over your face. The best bit about the 300C is the fact it earns a Hemi. They say there's no substitute for cubic inches when it comes to power, and the C proves the point. In this application, the Hemi dishes out 340 stampeding horses and a very worthwhile 390 pounds-feet of torque at 4,000 RPM. Indeed, it's the latter that makes the stability control package such an important add-on. Tromp the gas and the C takes off like a scalded cat, putting a metric ton on the clock in about 6 seconds. Now that's not to be sneezed at, considering the 4,000 pounds of leather-lined luxury it has to push off the line. You know, this 300C comes very nicely attired, and it starts with these great long-distance seats. They really do provide all the support you need and in all the right places. You can then load it up pretty much the way you want, including an MP3 player and a decent navigation system. But as with the exterior style, everything in here is just a little different. Now, in any other car, it could come across as being rather gaudy. In this particular application, you know, it comes across as being rather classy. From the engine, the power is relayed to the wheels through a well-mannered 5-speed automatic transmission that earns a manual mode. For the most part, it's best left in drive. However, pour on the coals and the engine braking in parts heading into a fast corner really helps to set the car up properly. You know, it really is a blast chasing a so-called sports car around a fast on-ramp in what on the surface looks like a large land yacht. Rounding out the dynamic package is a good set of anti-lock brakes. They not only provide fade-free stops, when the pedal is hammered, they also have the benefits of brake assist. You know, this new 300C really is a very good demonstration of what happens when creativity and engineering excellence collide. It not only handles well and comes with a ton of space, you've got to love the Hemi power. But the one thing that really did intrigue me, if they ever remake the Green Hornet, here's his wheels. And you know what? I can picture Jackie Chan behind the wheel of this car, even as I speak.
Our Midas tip of the week concerns rusty brake rotors. That reddish deposit that you see all the way around the brake rotor of this vehicle indicates there's some corrosion going on. Now that happens anytime the vehicle's parked in a wet environment. Now the brakes, in order to cool properly on a disc brake system, they have to be very open to the air. When they're open to the air, they're also open to moisture, and the moisture and air combine to corrode those rotors when the vehicle isn't driven. If it's driven every day, that corrosion is scrubbed off there by the friction of the brake pads working against the rotors. But if your vehicle's parked for an extended period of time, that corrosion can build up to a point where when you pull the vehicle away, you hear it and you feel it. The brakes just feel like sandpaper. They sound awful. They can be very abrupt and lock up quite easily, and you can actually feel some shuddering. So make sure that if your vehicle has got to be parked, ideally it should be in the garage, and if you're going to be away for an extended period of time on vacation or a business trip, ask someone to drive your vehicle periodically. Even if it's only for a couple of blocks, it'll scrub that corrosion off there before it builds up to a point where it can cause a problem. That's your Midas tip of the week.
This is our 10th anniversary. I've been a member of the club since about 6 months after it started. We have roughly 25 to 30 members on a continual basis. We usually have anywhere between 80 and 120 cars every year that come to our show, and we have some beautiful iron that shows up here every year, and there's always some new stuff, so anytime you get a chance to come, you're always welcome.
It's a 1972 Nova, and it's been chopped 4 inches. Rear quarters have been taken out and widened, and ground package put on to give it a lower ground effect and tie the body lines in. Customized 350 Chev engine, and it's got a Trans Am interior with a tilt wheel.
It looks claustrophobic in there, isn't it?
And it's not that bad. I'm kind of short, so it's not too bad for me.
Tell me what we're looking at here and how close it is to an original.
Nothing even close to an original. It's a 1949 full custom Merc. It's chopped 4 inches and channeled 6 over a 78 Park Avenue Buick. Floor, frame, running gear. Runs a 403 Olds with a turbo 400. It's got over 70 body modifications, some of which are suicide doors, side drafts cut to the doors and the fenders, scoops, rounded corners, built-in lake pipe tubes, flush-mounted handmade skirts, all peak ends and French headlights, canted, everything. It's just full custom right to the 9 yards. 403 Olds with a turbo 400, all redone, all cammed up. Yeah, it floats around about 80 mile an hour and gets about 22, 23 miles to the gallon. It's a gas station car. You can't pull into any gas station anywhere, and everybody wants to clean your window.
What would it be worth right now?
According to what I could figure out from the internet and through Hot Rods by Boys and stuff like that, and with the appraisals I've had on it, somewhere around that 70,000 US.
But would you want to part with it?
Anything's for sale for a price. You can always build another one.
got a big regional demolition derby here today. It's cars from all over Ontario that have competed throughout the year, qualified to come to our big one here.
You guys and gals want to see men, you've got them. No mice in this bunch, men all the way through. 100% pure men.
Now, actually, there's a lot of rules that come into play here, and that's why P&R Demolition Derby Productions, we've never had a serious accident in any of our derbies. All drivers must remove their gas tanks. They must take all the glass, all the plastic, all the lights and everything out of their vehicles and move their gas tanks into their back seat. They must remove the batteries into the front seat. They must have fire extinguishers. They must have seat belts all in operation. And as you can see in stock cars, they put a mesh on the driver's side of the car. Here, we don't allow that simply because if there is a fire, we want the driver to be able to get out as fast as possible.
We're on oxygen. Jesus.
I've been in it since '83 and it looked fun. I just had an old wagon, I thought I'd try it. And we've been derbying ever since.
What kind of person did it take to be a demolition driver?
Well, somebody that's half crazy, I guess. Yeah. Just more nerve and dick crazy, put it that way.
How's it feel, new champ?
Good. I feel real good. Excellent. Nice to win.
Tell me about that.
Well, I just pounded. I just love to pound. Just love to pound. No, it was good. It's good. What can I say? I'm just excited and I could use the coin, eh? Yeah, I'll talk to you in a while. I gotta have a beer.
Now, the new Ion Red Line is a coupe. Now, at my age, I've never really liked coupes because it's too inconvenient trying to climb into that back seat. But the Ion, like the Mazda RX-8, is really a quad coupe with 2 doors in the back. They used to call them suicide doors in the old days, but for me, it makes the vehicle a lot more user-friendly. All right, let's head to the Quaker State Garage and join Bill Gardner.
Brad, ever since the mid-'80s, just about every car and light truck sold in North America has had an ECM or electronic control module, loosely referred to as the computer that runs the engine. Now that computer has a number of input devices that are very important to it, so it can decide how much fuel to inject, when to inject it, and what the ignition timing should be on that engine. The computer also has control over a number of output devices. We want to talk this week about one of the important input devices to that computer, and that's the oxygen sensor. Now the oxygen sensor, you can have one or more sensors depending on the make and model of the car, and more importantly, the year of the car. Many newer vehicles with V8 engines can have as many as 4 oxygen sensors screwed into the exhaust system. What these sensors do is analyze the exhaust content of the exhaust gases coming out of that engine to decide if all the other inputs to the computer did the right thing. What was the fuel mixture, and if it's not correct, the oxygen sensor can allow the computer to fine-tune or adjust the engine to get just the right air-fuel ratio for that engine for best power and best fuel economy and the lowest emissions. Now the oxygen sensor can wear out over time, and that can cause you a drivability problem, and in most cases a complaint about poor fuel economy. So anytime you have a car that has a drivability complaint or doesn't give good fuel economy, that's one of the sensors you should be looking at. Now the oxygen sensor, when it's working correctly, gives off a voltage between 0.1 of a volt and 0.9 of a volt, and it toggles back and forth. Every time it crosses the midpoint, this little scan tool racks up what they call a cross count. So when we're looking at analyzing this, we use a scan tool plugged into the dash of the vehicle to analyze the output of the oxygen sensor. If your car's not giving good fuel economy, in other words, it's down 10 or 15% from what it used to be, and your driving habits haven't changed appreciably, this is one important sensor that you should look at. Till next week, I'm Bill Gardner for Motoring 2004.
I don't feel I really have to apologize to being from Toronto. It's where my parents happened to be when I was born. But we do try and get around this great country of ours, and I spent some time recently in Calgary. Fabulous city, tremendous energy, friendly people, and unbeatable surroundings. Aren't the mountains beautiful today? But I tell you, you folks have some traffic challenges there. It begins with the genius who laid the grid system onto your city. You've got Center Avenue and Center Street. You got the 4 quadrants, northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest. You got the streets going one direction, the avenues going in the other. It looks like it should be teutonically efficient. But if you tell somebody you'll meet them at the corner of 16th and 4th, you could be in one of 8 locations, 16th Avenue, 4th Street, or 16th Street, 4th Avenue, in any one of the 4 quadrants. You miss one letter and you're 16 miles away. Now, maybe the residents get used to this. I asked one guy, is there a convention? Do you always say the street first and the avenue second? He said, not really. So I don't know how. For out-of-towners, man, it can get confusing. Now, this grid system was laid out over the local geography, which doesn't seem to have any bearing on the grid system. I mean, you could really be up the creek because of the mountains in the way. And speaking of creeks, you got the Bow River wandering through the city. You got the Stampede Park taking up half of your downtown and the railway running through everything. The map looks like you can get there, but you can't always get there. And then you got your trails, and that's a pretty cool name for major highways in a western town. You got your Deerfoot, and your Crowfoot, and your Blackfoot, and your Leadfoot, and your right foot, and your left foot, and they look great. Big 3 lanes in each direction, roads, median, strip, on-ramps, off-ramps. And then you come to a traffic light. You'll sit there for a month waiting for the traffic to clear. Your city's growing so fast, your town's roads can't really handle the volume. Now, Brad is predicting we're going to get a lot of email from angry Calgarians over this. I don't think so, because I think you guys agree about the challenges that you face. But if you want to discuss it, I'll meet you at the corner of Yonge and Bloor. I'm Jim Kenzie.
I never thought I'd be saying this about a Saturn, but this new Ion Red Line is a blast to drive. And it gives the company a whole new attitude, from a family market to a young tuner crowd, and they're going to sell a bunch of them. But you know, over the next 30 months, Saturn promises a lot more product, including a roadster, a mid-size sedan, and, dare I say it, a large SUV. Well, nobody's perfect. That's it for now. We'll see you next time out as we continue to bring you more stories about cars and the people who drive them.
It's really a very quirky European brand, and I see that as the big challenge for Saab, is to define what it is for this next generation of basically GM platform cars.
TSN's Motoring 2004 has been brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oil, oils fine-tuned for different engines, and Midas, Total Car Care. We do that.